Hello, One Rental at a Time community. We've listened to you all, and so I'm so excited to share with you our latest product, which was just rebranded. It's called Rent Defense. So, what is Rent Defense, and what did we hear from all of you, and why we decided to launch it? Well, first of all, evictions are incredibly stressful. When your tenant is past due on rent, that is when you need someone the most to help walk you through that process, make sure your tenant is paying on time in the future, and figure out how to make sure that rent payment that's late today can be paid as quickly as possible. And so, what Rent Defense is basically a product where we help mitigate the risk. And every single month, if your tenant is late on rent, we will go through everything from mediation to process serving to the lawyer recommendation should it go to court. So let me back it up a little bit and tell you a little bit more about what we had before Rent Defense, which is something you would opt into even when your tenant is not late on rent. So it's completely passive. If there's ever a time that they're late on rent, we will go ahead and get that mediator involved. All right, so before that, we had something called pre-eviction. Pre-eviction essentially said if your tenant's late on rent, go ahead and pay $475, a one-time fee. I know that sounds expensive. That's why wait until the end, because Rent Defense is a lot more affordable. But go ahead and pay $475. And because your tenant is late on rent, we'll go ahead and have a mediator meet with them to understand why they're late on rent, what solutions and opportunities they have out there, such as rental assistance from the government or from a local church, see when it's realistic for this rent to be paid, or if there's any sort of dispute, help with that mediation. And then finally, give you the path of what is best to take. Do we think that this is going to have to go to court and we have to serve a notice? Or do we think that we can realistically get you the rent as quickly as possible and help mitigate the risk of a late payment in the future? So that is the kind of background behind it. Okay, now 87% of these requests get closed before we serve a notice. And so what's fantastic about that is we go through and work with the tenants to come up with a very professional way to work with them. And part of that, just to give you some background, is not coming in hot and heavy saying, you're late on your rent, it was due on the 1st, now it's the 5th, there's a late fee, etc. Instead, our mediators call and say, we noticed that your rent is late, Tiffany, the tenant. Can you tell us a little bit more about why and how can we help you? And by flipping it to that, we suddenly get a lot more buy-in and can work through a payment plan, a process to do early termination if needed, and learn a little bit more about their financial situation and why they're not paying rent. So that is our pre-eviction process. It starts with the mediator, then goes to the process server. We actually coordinate all of that as part of pre-eviction. So we'll have the process server go out and post the notice to the door, although they try to serve in person. They'll go out multiple times and you'll get all of that communication. And then should that be unsuccessful with collecting the rent, whether it's 3-day notice or 7-day notice, whatever your state's laws are on the eviction notice, then we would go ahead and recommend a lawyer who would go to court for you. So that is the pre-eviction process. Now, what I'm so excited to share with Rent Defense is you now have pre-eviction, but at a very nominal rate. And so what that is $4.95 per month. And if your tenant is ever late on rent, we will automatically start that process. And our goal is to make sure that every month you do not have to worry about the rent being in your account, your bank account, by that 1st of the month. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and visit hemlane.com. Also, if you are one of our customers already, you can go here to the services tab. You can go to eviction here and go ahead and go through the process. You'll see what the process is and you can opt in from this page. So thanks so much for listening. We really look forward to helping support you and make property management less stressful for both you as well as your tenants, because when a tenant is late on rent, it's not only stressful for you, it's also incredibly stressful for them that that they could lose their home. And so we're here to support them throughout the entire process, from rental assistance programs all the way to working through future next steps with them. So thanks so much for listening.